guys, welcome to the 3-step blueprint on becoming a sports model. Alright, so I'm going to be talking to you in 3 separate videos about the most important things you're going to have to look at if you're trying to, number one, get an awesome shape. Alright, if you're trying to get into awesome shape, 3 simple things you're going to have to look at. Alright, the first thing is one, obviously, sort out your nutrition. So first thing we're going to pop up here is nutrition, guys. So what does that even mean? It means that we, number one, have to look at your basal metabolic rate. Alright, so if we just start to draw a graph and we have this as your person, okay? If you start to draw a graph and say someone's metabolism is up through here, that's their metabolic rate here, okay? Now, if this person starts to, obviously, you know, when you first start out a diet, what do you tend to do, guys? You tend to stick to cleaner foods. You tend to stick to what? Tend to drop your foods. You'll start eating a little bit less, all right? And what this creates is it creates a negative environment. So let's say you start eating this much, all right? Let's say here's 2,500 calories. And here you start eating 1,500 calories. Now your body's quite smart, okay? It's gonna say, hold on a second, over the period of 3-4 days, that works quite fine. Over the 4th, 5th, 6th day, not only do you lose energy, okay, not only do you feel worse on a day-to-day basis, your body actually has a bit of a brain, and it says that, hold on a second, we're going in too much of a deficit, we need to slow this number down. Okay, so in actual fact, your metabolic rate just slows right down after day 5, okay? It comes down and it meets this number here. It's almost roughly around there, okay? Now what happens when it meets the number there is that you stop burning fat. You really go into almost, you start burning muscle tissue. Your body doesn't want to build more muscle tissue because what happens is, you know, the more muscle tissue you have, the more energy you're going to burn. It's like having, you know, a V8 engine car, you know. It's going to burn unnecessary fuel. So your body kind of switches off. It kind of says, hey, look, you know what? We're not getting enough energy. We're going to slow down our thyroid. We're going to slow down all our anabolic hormones. Everything gets down regulated and we stop performing. All right. So when you guys start a diet, number one, it's really important to understand how much energy that you require from a day-to-day basis. Really understanding this number there. But not only that number, but also the breakup, the macronutrient breakup. So the proteins, fats, and carbs. Now, each of these are quite important. Okay, each of these are super vital. Your proteins, what are they made up? They make up basically your muscle tissue, your amino acids in there, helping your muscle tissue recover. Okay, that's the main function of skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, so on and so forth. Now, fats are really important too. Fats are quite undervalued in this system. All right, why you have to understand you need fats is if you don't have any fats in here, you don't have any hormonal function. Okay, or you don't have any cell permeability, which means that you don't get nutrients in and out of cells. Now, what's going to happen if you can't get things in and out of cells? You don't get repair. You don't get, oxygen in and out of cells. You don't get nutrients in and out of cells. You don't get all your vitamins and minerals in and out of cells, and you don't get a repair process. Now, carbs is a big one, right? So these two are quite vital. Carbs is optional. And I say optional because when you've got a really big guy who comes to you and, he might be 30% body fat, you'll be looking at optimizing these two and reducing that. However, generally with the more rule of thumb that I go by is that the more strength training and volume training an athlete does, the more carbohydrates they need post-workout. Okay. 2, why do they need a post-workout? To obviously replenish their glycogen stores, okay? To almost help them recover. Replenish their glycogen stores, keep them nice and full, as well as, what else is really important? It's so that they can train at a high intensity, and create that stimulus. So a lot of people forget this when they start dieting, is that, hey, they start dieting and they go into a bit of a calorie deficit. So they're about here. Now, what happens when you're there is that the body kind of slows down still. It kind of says, okay, cool, I'm burning fat, I'm preserving muscle, I've kind of maximized everything. But what you're missing, guys, what you're really missing here at the moment is you want to be optimizing all your foods so that you get performance, okay? And what I mean by performance is when you're basically training in the gym, let's say you're going in on Monday and you're training chest. Now, if you're in a bit of a calorie deficit and you're not feeling that good and you've had work, most guys go into the gym and train chest. And I'm going to put out an analogy this way. Let's say you have 10 men in your chest right now, okay? And you're hitting a bench press and, you're going through 50% and you're working out half-assed. Now, your brain's going to say to itself, okay, great, these 10 men had a bit of a workout, but the stress caused to these men weren't enough, so then I have to create 11 or 12 men, You want to be working out so that your body says, holy crap, these 10 guys are under so much load that I need to build more men. I need to build 13 guys next time so that when I do this, the 13 guys can handle the load, okay? Now what happens when you have 13 guys built there then the next time? Well, number one, you've got 13 guys in your chest muscles, so you're going to increase your metabolic rate. You have more fuel that you're going to need to burn on a day-to-day basis. And when you're using this, you're using 13 men as a force, which means you're burning more energy, okay? So don't undervalue that. It's not all about being in a calorie deficit here, guys. There's number one, being around that ballpark figure, but number two, making sure that you're fueling your nutrition to maximize your workouts, okay? And that's the biggest thing. I get so many questions of guys saying, hey, when's the best time to eat, pre-workout or post-workout meal? Now, post-workout meal is always going to be, a high GI carb and some protein. But your post-workout, guys, if you get lethargic on carbohydrates, then don't have carbohydrates, pre-workout. If you're pre-workout, guys, if you feel lethargic on carbohydrates, then don't have it pre-workout. That's gonna impact on your training. If you feel fine with carbs pre-workout, then have carbs pre-workout. Do what you can to maximize your performance. Because in the gym, what we're forgetting is that the guys that are coming around is that they're not really training those 10 guys in the chest muscles to fatigue. They're worrying too much about this food, all right? And when you worry about that food, that's cool. You'll get leaner, but you're not going to build an awesome physique. So remember, cool. Number one, guys, what I like to do over here is let's track our caloric maintenance. If you're looking to lose a bit of weight, I'll drop it about 200 calories from there. Okay, remember that the two most important environmental things are that number one, you get your proteins up to about 2 grams per kilo, 2.2 to 2.5 grams per kilo. Your fats are important because obviously if you don't have any fats, you don't get any hormonal production. You don't get any hormonal production, you don't actually build anything. You don't function, okay? And remember, the last piece of the recipe here is your carbohydrates, where maybe later on you'll bring them in depending, it goes up according to your workouts and how strong you get. That's the general rule of thumb. If you're responding well to carbs, you're a hard gainer, smash the carbs, all right? But if you're like 70-80% of the population who has carbs and gets fats off them, then bring them down and adjust it accordingly, okay? That's not to say you should be on low carb. You might be on 200 grams. It's just your ability to use more carbs later on will be greater once you hit the volume training. And remember, the most important thing here is that your training, or I suppose your training should be the most important thing. So once all this is constant, you base this around your training schedule. So if you train awesome, in the morning, then go train in the morning. Stimulate those 10 men so that you get growth and you're in an anabolic environment and you've caused a change in your body. Don't just stay in the circle. Don't stay in that circle where you're not changing. Okay, and that's the most detrimental thing. So I hope my little diagram, I hope my little explanation has been helpful to you. If it has, then definitely sign up to our email list because we will be sending out daily tips and videos and so on and so forth from there. Okay, thanks guys, have a good day. I will talk to you in video number 2.